There's an old Franciscan benediction. May God grant you enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in this world. So you can do what others claim cannot be done. And that appeals to me.
When you're in a crisis, you don't have a choice. So you have to respond. This person is in pain. Do something.
When people didn't know where to go and what to do, they would call the crisis center.
Right.
That's what they would do.
The center will be there for anyone at any time in any way to be of value.
This is not a normal job. This is not a normal job.
The Crisis Center gave me a way of viewing the world, viewing people, understanding humanity that was just incredibly powerful.
This is going to be an experience, an adventure.
We're all broken, and we're all simply trying to get back, and we're struggling. That's okay. It's okay to struggle. The people that are calling us, the people we're dealing with are struggling. So are we. We're not separate from them. We understand them, you know?
This center changed my life. Not to be dramatic, but it did.
Probably the most powerful, important thing that I've done.
You're engaged with people, amazing people, throwing themselves into doing something that brings the best out of them. And it's memorable. I have, people that I will love all my life that I've met there.
The Crisis Center changes you. You see things in a different way. You listen in a different way.
Mm-hmm. There are so many struggles in the world, constantly and especially now. Everyone at some point in their life is going to go through crisis. Everyone is going to have a moment where they're, questioning everything about themselves. Everyone will have a moment where their resources, whether those are their support systems, their coping strategies, sometimes even their reasons for living, are going to be overshadowed by what they're facing. And at some point, someone is going to need to have that support from someone else.
One day there was a Baptist preacher that came in, and he was late to the meeting because he'd been on the top of the Hatton Hotel, which is one of the taller buildings in Chattanooga at that time, with a young woman who was wanting to jump off. And he reached out his hand to her and very gently led her back down off the ledge. And immediately the police jumped on her like she was a criminal. So that was something that really occupied our attention.
There are one chimes here. If a student plays a note that is one of those notes, it'll start resonating. It'll start ringing. So out of the blue, you'll hear the note continuing. So that's called the enharmony. That when two pitches meet, then if you take two tuning forks that are tuned to the same pitch, you hit one so that it vibrates, and you bring it close to the other one, but not touch. The other one will start ringing too. So I feel that's the essence of what we do. It's about being fully present and letting whatever the person has on their heart resonate to help them see it. And once they feel they're not alone with it, they themselves find solution. We're not there to offer solution. We're just there to resonate with them so that they feel whatever is going on, and that gives them some power over what is going on. And the simple fact of not being alone in the tremendous pain they might be in, not alone and accepted with it, not asked to get over with it. Just time will tell, that it'll pass. None of that. It's tell me what you feel, and I'm ready to hear everything about it. As deep as it is for you, as horrible as it is, I will listen.
In 1961, President Kennedy created a joint commission on mental illness and mental health. And this commission conducted a groundbreaking epidemiological study on the mental health of the American people. And what they found was staggering. Mental illness was actually widespread across the nation, far more prevalent than anyone had suspected. So the U.S. was facing an immense, previously unrecognized crisis, and this demanded really urgent attention. We'd never faced anything like this before, and the response had to be innovative.
The obvious conclusion, there would never be enough professional psychiatrists and psychologists and social workers to handle the demand.
The commission concluded that to properly address this crisis required the establishment of an entirely new category of community caregivers. So these caregivers weren't always professionals themselves, but they would have access to professional consultation. Police officers, ministry, primary care physicians, public health nurses, and a previously overlooked and underestimated population, volunteers.
This center started as a research center. It wanted to do the work, but they also wanted to research its impact. And the guy that started it, Dick McGee, was a graduate student at the university and got a grant to do all this work.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dick, and I used to be part of the Crisis Center.
The plan had been to begin operation January 1 of 1970. We realized that, hey, we're coming up here on Christmas. Christmas is the biggest time of the year for suicide. Why are we going to sit around for another 3 weeks? Let's start now.
Showing up and saying yes was part of the core founding values. He would say, it just seemed obvious to him, you say yes. You know, the police said, we need training, and he'll say, I'll be there. People in neighboring counties will send a team up. There was no limits other than what he thought, could we help?
We never asked anybody for permission to develop the Crisis Center.
When I would talk to people in various agencies, I'd say, this is how crisis centers work. This is what we intend to do. And there was never an issue about, will you let us play?
The vision and core founding principles of who we are and how we want to proceed was part of the brilliance of the founding father, Dr. Richard McGee, and obviously a lot of people helped him, and he had some incredible graduate students who studied under him, and many of them became part of the team that I worked with. So I started with a very, very strong group of people who all believed in the same vision. And our job was to see if we could keep it going. When I took over, we had to move from a grant-based funding to local funding. And so the Suicide and Crisis Intervention Service in 1975 became the Alachua County Crisis Center. And it was my honor to be director up until I left in August of 1979. Elizabeth Jones took over from me, who was incredible.
Well, Liz developed the training. If you look at our training manual today, all of the components were there by 1975, 1976, and she laid it out.
Liz truly helped the Crisis Center set the new national standard for crisis intervention.
Even with all the technology we go through, that human voice is still probably the most powerful thing we have going, and people use it every day. Appreciate it because it makes my community a better place to live because of you guys.
And she got Marshall, and Marshall took over, and my God, look what he did.
The late 80s was a time where there was a shifting going on, where we had to have clear goals and objectives, and we couldn't be, from the earliest days, the concept was the center will be there for anyone at any time in any way to be of value. And it's like, well, that's a beautiful statement, but come on, you got to have some limitations. You got to have boundaries. You have to have a reality check. And so we were at a point in our own history, and as a staff, we were talking a lot about how do we come up with a new mission statement that isn't so grandiose. We have to be more clear and defined and limited. And come on, we're just a little crisis center.
Our crisis center may have been small in size, but it didn't take us long to discover that our greatest strength was our willingness to respond in times of need. In August of 1987, in Levy County, which is one of our neighboring counties, a flatbed truck collided with a Levy County school bus. Tragically, the bus driver was killed along with 5 young students between the ages of 4 and 11. 17 other students and aides were also seriously injured and airlifted to Gainesville hospitals.
Everybody in the county knew some child or the bus driver that was on that bus. And there was lots of fatalities, and it was a nightmare. The whole county was in mourning. Everybody was upset. They said, is there anything you could do? I said, well, let me come join you all, see if I can help. And I grabbed a few people to see if I can get some of our folks over on Monday morning to spend the day in Levy County, in their school system, offering some face-to-face counseling as needed. I called the center and I say, look, could you please run the list, call every one of our folks that are all volunteers that are on our outreach team, our care team members, and see if any of them can come down to the center for a meeting about the possibility of getting off from work or school or whatever and going over and working in Levy County. And as we pull into the parking lot, I'm hoping there's going to be 4, 5, 6 cars, Parking lot's full. And I walk in, and there had to be over 30 of our people were there. And we sent out the next day, we had 2 counselors in every school in Levy County, And it was because, and people took off from work. They were given leave. They took off from school, obviously. They did, this was more important. They did what needed to be done. And after that, in '87, where we basically, our underwritten a motto was doing what needs to be done. And I said, we can do stuff nobody else can do.
Chemical spills, storms, natural disasters, really anything, anywhere, anytime. County and state borders stopped being a barrier for us. And our staff and our volunteers were always willing to be there to provide essential care in response to all forms of tragedy, natural and man-made. And this was perhaps most notable during the horrific student murders in Gainesville in 1990.
That was a seminal point in the history of the center because it did connect us into the community at a different level. And it created a different foundation with law enforcement than we'd ever had.
It was horrible, just horrible for everybody. Everybody felt connected to what was going on. It affected everyone personally. I mean, the whole community was in crisis.
You know, my employer was willing to release me for the week or 10 days, whatever it was that we were responding to that. And I spent most of my time here, and we had to invent structures to respond to what was coming at us because the number of calls were high. You know, 911 was getting flooded with things that were not 911 emergency, but related to the trauma. Our director said at a meeting, why don't you give them our number?
And so I called the center and I got Jerry McDade, who was a volunteer, who of course was living down there. And I said, hey, Jerry, here's what we're going to do. I'm just giving you a heads up. We're going to get inundated with calls and we're going to try to set up a kind of phone bank. Can you take charge of that? And he goes, no problem, I'll do it.
I can remember Jerry McDade putting those big sheets of like easel paper with updated information because we became rumor control. So when people called, we can answer concerned Gainesville residents, concerned parents, people from the community.
We had to verify everything that we said. And so it was a team effort. And then Jerry had put up that giant piece of paper, just covered in magic marker. And you're just coming in for your shift and they're like, okay. And then they're pointing to the huge piece of paper and saying, that's that one, and then trying to update you. And then as soon as you're done with that, you're answering the phone, and it just is ringing and ringing and ringing, and you're trying to decipher, making sure you're giving out the correct information.
We quadrupled the number of hours of service that we offered. Name another organization that can, in basically a moment's notice, increase their service load by 4. You can only do that with volunteers.
That's right. And we're a crisis center, right? So when shit happens, you just go with it.
Nobody better equipped than you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're out there doing all kinds of quietly helping folks in the community. And when a crisis occurs with county funding, sometimes it's difficult to explain how it is that we're functioning and how important what we're doing is. It's difficult to explain because most of the time nobody realizes. We don't have uniforms and we just look like two neighborhood folks that are knocking on someone's door. They wouldn't look out and go, look, they would just think we were, neighbors, probably.
The research is very clear that well-trained volunteers are as effective or more effective than licensed professionals.
Going through training class, I still tell people it was one of the hardest things I have done. It was just entirely foreign and different and challenging and exposing in a way I had not experienced in anything else, really.
You really bond through the process of training in a meaningful way, given its structure and the way that it's laid out, and then also just the ways in which people come together, bring their own vulnerability to the table and connect with each other through the process of training. I think all really help foster, an understanding of the work and an understanding of the way that we can support people effectively.
Because in the moment, you need to be able to go from 0 to 60 and meet somebody where they're at emotionally, because we don't have an existing relationship, so they call on the phone or you're meeting them in person. You've got to be where they are. So we practice.
And I started out hating role plays. Most people that graduate from training don't want to ever do any more role plays again. But in our workshops and all kinds of things that we do for continuing training, we do role plays. And I remember, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do role plays again? I thought I was done. Two people sit back to back so they can't see each other. And one person plays the role of the caller and one plays the role of the volunteer. And you're gonna pretend like you're having a call so that they can show what it's like to be a realistic caller. The role play won't work if it's not a realistic caller. It really does pivot on that. That shows that you understand what that caller is going through. The trainers develop amazing acting abilities. I remember the first time I ever really actually cried playing the role of a caller. And I was shocked that I never thought I could, that would ever happen.
The center is a crucible for personal development.
I'm learning so much, learning to listen, learning to be there without expectations, just being there. And that's something that I found very useful even outside of the center with my friends or with myself. Learning to be there without judgment is a tough one. So it's easier to do it with other people than with oneself.
I learned a lot about emotions, which I did not have a real understanding of at the time.
Instead of inserting myself and trying to solve problems and tell people how to live their life and what they were supposed to do to fix things, I learned to listen, and they came up with the ideas of how to solve their problems, which maybe they had a better idea about it than I do because they had a better understanding what their problems were.
I'm not the expert. My clients are the experts. They're the ones that know what they need. And I just think with empathy and support and just time and listening and validating feelings, I think so much healing can occur.
My job was, in essence, to listen and to help people to be able to focus on next steps in order to be able to get on a positive track with their life. And that's problem solving, but it's problem solving through them. They have to solve their own problems.
The culture is much more to, okay, I'm going to save that person. I'm going to take them out of their emotion, but it's not helpful. Because then the message is that the person feeling that is wrong. They should not feel that. And it's also because that feels better to us. Wait, I don't want you to feel so bad. Let's find a way, because it's bothering me that you feel so bad. Instead of saying, wow, yeah, you feel terrible. You've lost any hope. And it's amazing to see the result when you do that, how the person will pause and maybe start thinking, well, I guess I could do this or I could do that, because they see it, because it's their process. You just have helped them resonate.
We can't leave a place until we arrive at it, and I really think that story embodies this sense of really meeting people where they're at in the moment. We can have this hesitation to name the hard thing, but when we name the hard thing, it allows us to move to a different place. It allows us to go somewhere else. And so we really got to lean into the intensity of what folks are feeling or whatever might be happening for them to help them heal and move forward effectively.
We train crisis interveners, and we train people in empathy. And even the people that don't graduate are changed by what we do.
you could say the Marshall's theme really is this incredibly well run, sophisticated process of training, of getting so many volunteers doing things that were beyond what we ever imagined. I mean, how did that happen? Well, you look at the training that he put in and the people he got involved. I mean, it was not by accident. They were really capable of responding. And you're like, well, what the hell could Allie do? And then, oh, 988.
Effective immediately, if you call or text 988, you will be connected to the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There, professional support is available for anyone with a mental health emergency. The new 988 Lifeline is free, it's confidential, and it's available 24/7.
988 is, and I hope will always be, that place for people to know that I have a place that I can call and maybe not even know what to say, but I can call and just start a conversation. For decades now, we've had 911, the number we call when there is an emergency. 988 is the mental health or crisis equivalent of that. So, same way that you can dial 911 to reach someone immediately and get support in whatever it is you need on that end, 988 is a number you can dial anytime to reach a crisis counselor. Sometimes people call and all they can muster out is hello. And we can hear the pain in their voice that they may not even have yet words for, and we can still just be there and honor the courage that it took to just even pick up the phone and dial. And that's where it often starts. It's like, I know that this thing inside me, this struggle, needs to come out, and it may take quite some time, but for 988 to be there to say, yep, whenever, however you're ready to do that, we'll answer.
A group of people here are probably the most comfortable people talking about suicide out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a trepidation when they call that they might be incarcerated or they might be sent to a hospital, which if that's what needs to happen, if someone is in danger, then we try to do everything we can to keep them safe. But that is the last thing that we want to do. We try so many other things to keep someone safe because we know how traumatic that experience can be.
The United Nations Human Rights Council has called for an absolute ban on non-consensual intervention. If people experience it of hospitalization as coercive, there's an increase in subsequent suicide attempts. And when I talk with people about that, I'll often talk about that kind of process at the crisis. Even if people present it first as I'm going to kill myself, I'm facing that. I'm really in danger right now, and I'm not sure. But if you listen deeply with people and stick with the process and stay with it, and stay with it, and stay with it often, by the end, we're able to work out some way to get through it.
Crisis is not a criminal act. When someone is needing support in that moment, when someone is needing connection, when someone doesn't know how they're going to live through the night, that is not something that we require police intervention for. And I think it's a recognition that in those moments, sometimes it is the connection to another human being, or the connection to the right resource, or the connection to somewhere to go if home isn't feeling like a place where they can keep themselves safe. And that's what's needed in those moments. And I'm so glad to see that recognition happening across the country.
What we do at the Crisis Center in Alachua County is a model nationally for how we could move forward toward that radical reductions of avoidable hospitalization.
It's okay to ask for help. One big thing for us historically at the center has been, even though we're the crisis center, is helping people understand that, crisis is relative. And so it can be
whatever that means to you, right? That whatever that struggle is, if you feel the need to talk about it, it's important, call.
So I have a message for anyone out there who might feel like you need help and you've got nowhere left to turn. You're not alone. It's not too late. Dial 988.
You cannot help another if you are not in a place where you feel you have support for yourself. It's impossible. So there's no barrier. The barrier that exists in the crisis center is only the ones that you have inside of you, and that's fine. But as long as you want to talk, to be open, to share, no barrier. It's exceptional.
We recognize in each other when we're feeling activated, need a moment.
You can't get away with anything here. You cannot get away with being off. You can try, but everybody sees it. And sometimes they'll be like, okay. And they'll give you a second. Be like, maybe you're not ready right this second, but like, you're not leaving.
What's going on with you? Yeah, you can't get away with saying, oh, yeah, I'm good. Or I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Because somebody's going to give you the head tilt and squint a little bit and say,
the squint.
but really.
Yeah, there is now. I'm fine. I'm fine.
There's like a running joke. I think a few people have it here, but Allie's queen of it is just like this eye that she gives you.
Yes.
And she looks at you in this one way, and then I multiple times I just started crying. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know what I'm crying about yet.
She just read me completely in a way that like, it felt like magic. I was like, she's fucking reading my mind. How's this happening? We joke that she's the eye of Sauron.
Yeah. We need it as a compliment.
Oh, yeah.
Ariel does as well. And
Ariel's got a good one,
don't
too.
ally me right now.
We share this humor of like, I've heard it described as like gallows humor because like we work in crisis and suicide prevention and like people's really terrible days.
You know, I'm pretty silly goofy on the regular with people around the office.
We can cry and laugh.
Yeah, if we couldn't laugh, I don't know if we could do this job.
Yeah.
Now we're all like best friends. And if it wasn't for that camaraderie that we built and fostered together, like this job would be like just completely unsustainable.
When we have sort of a really impactful call or situation that we're working, you'll see everybody rush together and be like, how can I help? I want to hear, how are you doing? And both offering support and offering that witnessing of it. And that creates community.
I think a lot of credit has to be given to Allie. One of the first things she said to me, and it was so hard for me to take in that would be part of my job. She was like, it's not wasted time to hang out on the lounge and just talk with other people. And I was like, oh, I can do that. Okay. And now I know why that's so important, so that we're all connecting, like we know each other and can help each other.
Crises create bonding. You learn to value, you might say, the soul of people, and that's lasting.
I mean, they're the people that I'm still the closest with. They were the ones in my wedding. I officiated 2 of theirs.
Well, this guy here.
Oh yes, a marriage. The memory that's most powerful to me is always about friends people I met, people I respected, people I admired, and how they have been so important to me in my life. Dr. Carl Wilson and I were volunteers together in the phone room. And he and I became close friends. And here we are in 2025, and he and I talk every Tuesday with a Zoom call about life in the world. And that's a pretty cool friendship that started on a phone shift.
I think we also just like really enjoy each other too. Like really cool. In a couple weeks, we have a soup potluck we're doing to get together and eat some soup.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tell, yeah, like I don't know about you guys, but I tell people like I'm gonna go hang out with my coworkers this thing, and they're like, you hang out with them outside of work? And I'm like, yeah.
We actually
They're my friends.
Yeah. Those are my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go hang out with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
We we do all sorts of things together.
The pig roasts, the retreats, the bonding, the common values, and working hard and playing hard together.
I have a chance to let off some steam. I have a chance to do some team building at the same time. The work is intense and hard to sustain if there's not other kinds of experiences on the side to help people keep going.
In the early 80s. It was a scary time, and I was really stressed. The tension inside the center was awful. I was feeling great pressure, and I was just not handling it great. And one of my staff came to me and said, Marshall, you know what we need to do? We're all so stressed out. We need to have a burnout party. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? We don't have time for that kind of crap. And I think I probably was yelling, and then I realized, wait, well, maybe we need that. The fall retreats became, I think, pretty famous. We have a hell of a good time. We have some real socializing one night, which is crazy stuff.
Yes, are we having fun yet?
So inappropriately crazy, but great fun.
The pig roasts were also, a wonderful experience.
And nobody ever got hurt, which was a miracle. But then Saturday was a work day, but it wasn't lectures and stupid games or anything. There was some silliness, but there was pieces of it that was just sharing, and not at a superficial level at all. And people would share things that they never thought they would share.
Our callers, our clients, they are us. We are no different than the people we serve. We are the people we serve. This work is kind of the collective work of humanity as we go through the struggles and the challenges and the suffering that we face. I hope to always be the voice out there in the darkness when someone feels like there is absolutely no one responding, no one that they can turn to, knowing that there is a place. The Crisis Center represents connection, and the Crisis Center means that you're never alone.
We should never be alone with all this, never, because it's hard. And if we can just support each other, everything changes. Simple concept, not easy to put in place.
Hey, Marshall.